Good evening. I'm Bill Simon with Naperville Preservation Inc. Welcome to our talk tonight, Good as New Second Lives for Dated Houses. Our speaker here this evening is Tom Ryan, a practicing architect here in Naperville, who is also on our board of directors. Tom, take it away.
First thing, you introduced me as an architect. I'm a local architect here in Naperville. Do 100% residential, custom homes, additions, just about everything. The first thing I'd like to do is review the first 5 questions we had for the first talk we did was about timeless architecture, and that talk and those questions relate to everything we're going to do for the 10 talk. And so I'll kind of reference those as I'm walking through some of these projects and some of these ideas. The best thing about this topic of dated houses is that you kind of have a head start towards timelessness because of the scale of the house. And that's one of the scale is a scale relating to a person is really the top thing about being timeless. And not just, it's the scale of a person in all aspects of the house, the windows, the doors, all those things. Am I just going to say next?
Yeah. Just like the old days.
Okay. Next.
Is it too far? How about that?
There you go. Perfect. This is basically the talk. This talk is about all old houses are not tear downs. Kind of what I try to.
They are in our neighborhood.
Yeah. So they don't have to be. Redeveloping neighborhoods aren't tear downs. Like I said, the biggest advantage is light. My clients always tell me that they like natural light, and I said, well, that's good because that's everybody does, right? And a lot of times when we're redeveloping houses, we can't leave everything, and that's okay. As far as the interior of the house, but it's mostly about the outside, and you'll see in some of the examples that I'm going to show. I'm basically going to show you 3 examples of homes this evening that I've done that I basically how I use these principles in my practice and how I approach each house. So really cool. So this is what, the first day I pull up to a house that someone asked me to consider renovating. This is on Melody Lane in Naperville. The things I first see, I kind of look at the scale. I mean, a lot of people would look at this and say this is going to be a tear down, right? They're going to say this, oh my gosh, we got to get rid of this house. So good scales, first thing, simple composition next. Nice tall roof. It's actually got cedar siding, natural cedar siding. The authentic part of it is, it's okay. It's been doctored over the years. You can kind of tell in this roof here that there's like a little kick out here. This is like a main roof over so you can tell that there's maybe a second floor here, but it's back further in the house. And I don't know the history of the house, exactly what happened over the years. You can one of the rules about can you tell if it's old or new, that's pretty obvious here, it's old, right? Okay, the next slide. Next slide is going to be some floor plan. And the top, just so kind of get oriented, the top is the existing. The lower is what's proposed and what's there now. 3 main things that happened here were pretty small additions right here. So you can tell this house was just it's 2 stories, stairway right off the front door. Really pretty simple, square plan. And then the second floor above, maybe it was added over, after this was done, because this does have a bedroom and bath. There's a lot of houses that just have 1 bath. So this again goes back to the timeless part of it. I look at this and I think, oh great, this is perfect. It's going to be good for structure. It's going to be good for the roof because it's a simple roof. And I can, there's things that I can do there. This was added here, and this piece was added here, and it kind of created this covered porch here. This has a trellis on it. So kind of enclosing space again to kind of give a little bit more privacy to from the neighbors. The big part back on the house was the part to the right of the front elevation was a flat roof. And that was the main priority of the homeowners. So what are we going to do with that flat roof? So my immediate thought was some kind of gable that would cover interior spaces. And so that's going to happen. That's basically going to happen here on the second floor. When these rooms poke out the side like that over this existing space, that's going to create rooms, but under the roof. Not what I'm trying to do here is not build 2 stories and then stick a roof on top of the house like a lot of people do. It always looks better to me when living spaces are under roofs instead of below them. We see lots of giant houses with massive attics with nothing in them but a bunch of wood. So you'll see that I'm always about the scale thing and about keeping houses really relatable to a person. And then this part's going to come out in the front here. This bedroom kind of pokes out right where this. All right, so let's see. I gotta keep doing it up.
Exactly. I don't know what that is.
So here again is here's the main points there, right? There's space here, and then there's kind of like this roof has these little. It's interesting. The part that comes out. I like this. So I'm gonna end up using that in the next when we get to the after slide. Yes. So that's the same house. Those are real clouds. I'm so happy when I go to take a picture and I say, oh my God, look at these clouds, you know. So I don't live far from a lot of my projects, so I'm always checking the weather, and usually there's a car in the driveway or something. But same openings. This is the same opening. That's the front door. That's an opening that was in one of the rooms. And then this was a slightly bigger opening that used to be over there. This house is 25 foot 2 inches tall. That's it right there. Naperville houses can be 40 feet tall. So, and a lot of them are. So this is kind of easy for me because I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to go higher. I don't need to. This room and this bedroom up here is underneath this roof. See what I mean? Like if you would just build a wall across there and then just stick out a giant gable up here, we're going to have a McMansion on our hands, right? So this is like timeless kind of cottage kind of feel. These little turnouts on the roof, like turn these on the edges to give a little bit of a little bit of coolness on the edge there. This is all cedar siding. Actually, the owner did a lot of this. Actually built this. He needed a little help from a contractor about doing some of these details, but that was good. Another good thing. This house actually has a garage back here. We're going to see this house and all the houses I'm talking about on Saturday. Not inside. This one's going to be outside. The next one's going to be outside, peeking in the windows, and then I'm not sure about the last. So the big advantage of a detached garage, which is kind of unusual, and I try to do this, is that you get 25% more natural light because the garage isn't stuck onto one of the walls of the house, taking away so that's what this is. All the way around there's windows. It's great, right? And everybody complains about, oh my God, I'm gonna have to walk from my garage with my groceries, And I say, what do you do with Jewel? They don't have a tunnel to your car. It's another step. And we're all privileged enough we can shop on other days, right? When it's not raining. Okay, so next slide. This is a house. Again, I drive up to this house and I think this is on Maple, on that little cul-de-sac there. I first say, wow, look at all the space. I'm right away excited by a lot of space that I can convert into a new house. Low slope roofs, which is okay, I can deal with that. But the best part about this was there's a river behind it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh boy, a river. Architects love rivers. And so just all these dreams about this. And the client moved to this house because of the river. Slide. Oh, yes, sir.
Was the front of that house an add-on to the original house or not?
I think this was right here.
Or just that piece,
Yeah.
not the living room area?
This is this is a typical split level. You see a lot.
Split.
And that's one of the reasons why I really like this example, because there's tons of these houses, right? And everybody thinks, what am I going to do with them? You know, it's like the split level is always weird. It's like these little portals to the downstairs and the upstairs, and everything's disconnected. So I wanted to change that with this house. And so I've got some interior shots of this too. Yeah, I think this was added at some point because right as there's the front door is right here on this side.
Yeah.
It's a really weird front door. And then there's another door here that goes to a little office that was right here. It was a really cool little room, but it was a little isolated. The next slide.
There's a house on Edgewater that has kind of a door like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this river house is great until you see this. Right, like this is this is what is this called? A digital flood insurance rate map. Right? Sounds really great. But the homeowner was very into the feng shui kind of thing. They're chefs, sushi chefs in Chicago. And so at first we're looking out the window and we're seeing, she sees a cemetery. It's a cemetery. Cemeteries are bad for feng shui, right? But then there's a road here. Like, well, the road takes away any kind of badness from the cemetery. And then the road's not great either, but then there's a river, which is even better. So this river flows. This is kind of interesting. This is the river. I think they shaded pink not to scare people. This is the actual river. This is the property right here. Pointer's working pretty good, right? And then you can see part of the property is actually in the river. This part of you can't build here. There's lines all through no basements. Everyone's really amazed at how these houses haven't been torn down yet, right? It's because you can't do
Can't
basements.
build there again.
Yeah, but you can't do basements. Everybody with a new McMansion wants a giant basement.
Well, you gotta have that English basement or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so that was our thing here, no basement, which is fine. So the blue part is the 1% annual chance of flooding. It's considered high risk.
Floodplain. Right?
And that's actually the Topeka River. And they say 25% chance in 30 years that your house will flood, and they tie it to a mortgage. It's about mortgage. Okay, next. Site plan, same configuration. The river's right here. There's a 100-year floodplain here, floodplain line, and then there's a 500. So big idea of this house, again, I wanted to keep it the same scale. That was really important because I know if we're doing a new roof, we're doing new siding, new windows, we can make almost any house look good depending on this.
So you have two 500-year rains in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Right?
I know it's changing. And you notice that last thing was from 2019, so they don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, they draw the lines around the property. And that's kind of what they do because it's hard to do people's property. So that was the idea, keeping this whole thing. This is an addition right here, a little poke out here. And then there was an addition here, which is a garage with a basketball court over top. The reason for this was because we wanted to convert the garage in the house to a bedroom or a bedroom suite. And that meant keeping all the family in the same space. But it also meant that we needed a garage space. And the garage space could be here, but if it was going to have, they don't have a basement, which is important if you're going to spend a lot of money on a house. So the space above the garage kind of became the basement, somewhere where kids could play, they got people over. The only catch was that it had to be connected to this house in order for it to build it 2 stories and make it taller. This house is so that we had to create a link between the house and the garage in order to build this taller. And this link right here is all glass. And the reason it's glass is because there's a bedroom right here. And that bedroom, we wanted to make sure they could see the river. So this became like a little garden, no entrance there, but so this is kind of the grand stuff.
Is the driveway along that whole eastern property line?
Yep, the driveway's right here. It goes, it used to be here before. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
garage. That was the garage right here before. So we just pushed it back here. I did a lot of, I was really worried that I knew the kind of cars they have, and I wanted to, this is another kind of architect thing to do is that I wanted to make sure that if she backed out from this for space, that she could back out in one shot, back out and then turn back. And so I drew this whole drawing. They were in Thailand at the time, and she said she was showing all her friends, and everybody's like so amazed that their architect like cared about how they were going to get out of the garage. It's just, so the feng shui is just common sense. It's really it's a bunch of it's like that. Okay, next. Plans. Well, these don't look as good as they do on the streets. This is existing. This is a little different. Existing and this is new. Existing, again, these weird, kind of like there's the front door, right, into this foyer living room, and you got to go around here. This kitchen, fireplace is here. Again, just unusual kind of circulation. This is where you walked up and went in that room that was over the garage. So main points here were, again, they are chefs, right? So that was important. This kitchen was really important. Three really kind of interesting things. I walked in the house one day, he had a refrigerator was stocked full of oysters from all over the country. And they were testing different recipes, and the kids would chime in too, because they knew seafood. So they would basically test all these oysters from all over, cook them different ways. The owner also told me that he needed a sink that was big enough for a whole tuna that he could fit in this sink. So this looks like the biggest cooler sink I think there is.
It's a big ass fish.
And then her mom would always say, "I need more fire." That was her. She would talk about the wok. So that was a big. So cooking was like a really big thing. I find that people tell me two things: that they either cook a lot or they want to entertain a lot. Not sure why people want to entertain so much, but so that was the reason for this. So basically converting this room, this was all, again, I always talk about structure. I always talk about like, this was an open space. This is just in here. It's not structure right now. So this was an open space that I could convert into basically a kitchen and a dining space and this hearth room where this fire is. Major point here is this space right here. This opening. This is the portal that I was talking about. I was trying to get rid of, and I'll show you that in the picture later. Entryway, kind of make this all make sense. And all of this, again, I'm always trying to lead it back to, I kept the scale the same. This house did not change except for this right here. So that's kind of the point. Like, look at how much space there is, right? I mean, a lot of people think it's useless, but if you start to think about how you're going to use these spaces, this sunroom turned into an office, and here's this link, this glass link between the garage. You walk up the stairs. Okay. And this is pretty straightforward. These are just, this is what it was before. This is what it's like now. Use a lot of these fun corner windows. You can see this, it's a split level. It just has some neat details. These corner windows. These all look out to the river. And that's why I wanted to kind of incorporate some of that into the new design. And that's it over here. I mean, this is here now. That's there now. So kind of leaving as much as possible. Even though this is a big job, this is a lot of steps. All these projects I'm showing you today they're pretty intense projects. But I'm not afraid to take on any project that involves just reestablishing new spaces, and it's actually not that hard to do. Okay, next slide is that, and then we'll go to the next one after that. Is one of the views of, this would be the front door. You can get the next one. So this is the front entrance. There's the two-story part again. This is new right here, with some double doors that go into a little foyer before you get into the big space. They actually use a lot of this for, they did come out here and get, herbs for cooking and all kinds of stuff. Really interesting, super nice, couple. Okay, next. Super important part of this. Okay, this house again, 22 foot 8 inches. Remember, the top is 40. You could. The garage is 25 feet back there. That's the garage. So this is the same house. same kind of part. This is back here, and then this part is the part that was added on. This whole thing is a kitchen here in the front. This part up here it's called a lantern. It's actually a skylight that brings sun into the kitchen. And I've got a picture of that inside. But oh, here's another. I'm always looking at pictures and wanting to point things out. These are handrails to get up on stairs. This is all that's required in the handrail. We don't need a million pickets that come down. It's a handrail, not a guardrail. So that's one of those things I think is really fun to just kind of play around with that. Everyone just wants to do a million pickets, and it's busy. We're trying to get a little. This is my second White House, right? Okay, garage, and then onto the next picture. Move on. So this is the part that I was talking about, where this is normally the portal up and down, right? That's second floor up here. That goes downstairs to the bedrooms and the family rooms down here. This is a slide they wanted kids. So this actually normally is not open. This part here, you can make this as open as you want. But with this fireplace was here before. This is a construction photo, so I tried to make it as best looking as I could. That looks out to the river part down here. This fireplace was existing and it was redesigned, so it looked terrible before. But we redesigned it. But the point is to kind of make this as open as possible, so this space feels connected to this space and that space. So we kind of take advantage of that split level that usually divides spaces. So I'm trying to unite the space. There's our vaulted ceiling. It's not vaulted over the kitchen because that's where that skylight piece comes in. And so this is just a really big space for, there's basically a hearth space here and then a dining space. And then when we get back into the kitchen, this is one side of the kitchen. The other side of the kitchen is all the way on the other side of the room, just like this. Big island in the middle. Okay, we're ready for the next. Put the name on. That's filled in. Great, thank you, bud.
Mhm.
This is looking the other way at this kitchen. I hate construction pictures, but I don't have a better one. This right here. That's what I want. This right here, you can't read that, can you?
Do what?
No, as I said, this skylight goes from all the way. I forgot. I didn't get to edit this picture. This skylight goes from here all the way up to about here, and up there is where that lantern.
You want me to try scooting it down?
Can you?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oop. I think
Yeah.
I think when I put it in there, it edited it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I asked Bill to add this at the last minute, so I can't be too picky.
You're so demanding.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Yeah.
All right, that's about all I can do now.
So this thing goes all the way over here, across the whole island, and it provides. It's really cool. Just there is actually a lot of light that comes in there, and then it's really neat at night because when the lights are on in the kitchen, it glows from the outside. And this again, they're really pretty simple street. I mean, there's gonna be a range over there. There's a lot of stuff missing here, but that's the inside of that house. And then we'll go to how are we doing on time? 17. Next. This is a house in Green Acres. Again, pulling up to this house, I thought, wow, this is great. Look at all these trees, giant yard, and a pretty small house, pretty basic house. The homeowner and myself lived near each other. We still didn't live near each other, but we lived near each other. And I think we must have had driveway chats for like 3 years about this property. Every time I'm cutting the lawn, Greg would drive by and we'd be like just chatting for like an hour or two just about architecture. Very, very involved, very educated about architecture. Bought this book and knows it well. So I was really thrilled when he told me, like, I bought this because of the trees and the land, and I don't want it to be much bigger than it. And I was like, what? That's like a dream for an architect to be like, for someone to say they don't want to McMansion, right? So I was really happy about that. After all of our conversations, we finally got going. We discovered that, maybe the next slide,
Floor plan?
that this was the plan for it's a ranch. Great things about ranches is they're giant, right? They have like big, it's pretty small. Big footprint, yeah, big footprint to work with. So that was the first thing I thought about. I was like, wow. So we mulled over a lot of ideas, like, should this be torn down? What's going to be the whole plan? Incorporating the backyard. There's going to be a pool someday. And so I kept looking at this thinking, gosh, if I could come up with a plan that would solve the scope with this and the second floor, I'm going to show it to Craig. And I'm going to think like, we could just use this outline exactly the way it is and build a house without having to dig out an entire foundation all the way down the ground, truck it all away, crush it up, bring the same thing back with hundreds of concrete trucks all day long, and pour the kind of the same thing in the same place. It had a decent basement. It was about 8 feet taller. And I had, like I said, I had a big floor plan here. So I started coming up with plans. The other thing I really like right away when I see this, it's narrow. Like this is, when you see the house, when you go walk around it on Saturday, you won't think it's super small, but it's because it's still only, this house is, again, 27 feet 8. Again, could be 40. So 27 foot 8 versus 40. So we ended up thinking like, okay, I said this part would probably be the kitchen and dining room. That rest could be a primary suite on the one side. And then we'd have to add a garage because we're taking over the garage. It's kind of like that other spot.
So Green Acres is part of Naperville these days?
Green Acres is unincorporated. Yeah.
So has it got a 40-foot limit or not?
Yeah, it's a stringent limit, but it's for the size lot, it kind of equals out. It gets to be, people build big houses. So the plan was, like I said, I mean, when I see this, I think right away, I also think structure. Gosh, these outside walls, I can do structure from here to here without any columns in them, the whole way, all the way. I don't have to impact the basement. So that sets up that's kind of another timeless thing. If someone in 40 years wanted to change this whole plan, they could, because the outside walls are the supporting walls. Not that they would, but that's kind of nice where you can actually span that far. You don't have to mess around with the inside. Okay, next picture is the plans. Here again, there's the converted garage. This is brought up to be the same level as the regular house, so it's not to step down. Great room in the middle. This actually is cool. Again, you look straight through here, all the way through to the backyard. These are big doors, like built from the great room. Again, just kind of keeping this. This is only one room, a study and a great room, and then the mudroom back here. And this garage is over here. Had to fit on the sheet that I think. Not my sheet, but the construction drawing. So just picture that being. Another great thing about these two spaces, again, environment kind of stuff, cost savings. This space was a slab and grade. This space was a slab and grade. So it didn't require a giant hole and a ton of dirt to take away from somewhere and then bring back and then do a giant hole in the ground with the foundation. So it saved money. I think the builder and I, Craig kind of looked at it. It was about $100,000 to save, not tearing all this out. I don't want to say saved, I guess it wasn't spent. Okay, so next slide. This space is 2 stories, so this is not part of the second floor. This space, again, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, a lounge, nice space. This is a spiral stair to a widow's walk on the roof, which is typical of a Gambrel style shingle house that we were hoping to achieve. This is all second floor stuff. What do I have here about? Yeah, again, the light is the main thing. Everything when you have a house that's 28 feet wide or something like that, you're never more than 2 steps from a window. Like I said, I design big houses, but I try to keep them as narrow as possible. A lot of times people will build a house, setback to setback, build 10-foot tall walls and just start going up with roofs. And the inside of the house, they're dark. You can't walk around it during the day without any lights. Most of the houses I do, I'm trying to keep them like this. And you can walk around without lights. All of our job sites, we never have the lights on, the job site visits. So that's kind of fun when I can see that. And clients notice that. So, okay, next slide. Yeah, all right, that's the house again. So, so the next thing is design and kind of looking at the parts. You can go to the. So this is the rendering of the house. This is the front. That's the left side. This is the south side. Again, here it is. That's the garage piece. That's the middle piece, and that's the primary bedroom on that side. This is 2 stories. This is all. I mean, this is a 2-story space, but hidden by kind of the architecture that it doesn't appear like it's just a 2-story space. Again, little things like this. These are timeless stuff. In this book, you can tell when old windows were never joined together. They always were separate. They didn't join windows together. So that was the idea. That just gives a little more credence to. I'm not trying to make an older house. We're just trying to make more sense so that everything is in jammed together. We all joke now about the 2-story corner staircase in the pajama show.
Oh, yeah.
This right here is the staircase window. All of these windows are around, and the staircase comes up from the downstairs. And actually, it's actually beautiful. It comes down to this little stair hall. Nothing over the top here, but just very classic kind of design. Also, spacing out windows. This is another timeless thing. It's like composition of this thing. It's like really important. And this client helped a lot. Knew a lot about the style. We researched this kind of stuff day in and day out about who does this best. Sometimes it's not great to just keep your views on Naperville. And so this is all obviously Northeast, through books, through travel, all that kind of stuff. What can you do? This is important to share that actually got a little bit smaller because of the DuPage County. Anyway, this is that's the narrow part again, looking straight down this side. Trying to keep this narrow and cute looking. There's the windows lock or chair, and then garage. Garage has a space over top of it, just like the rest of it. So it wasn't finished. It could be finished. It doesn't have to be finished. There's actually this got a little bit wider. This is a schematic drawing to kind of get colors. And even shadows are like sort of important to think about with some of these things. This is important in a real Gamber house like these. There's like these spaces in between. This is a shingle roof that comes down and kind of comes around the storm instead of the storm just blasting into the sun. There's specific, again, in this book, there's specific rules about these dormers, about the Gamber with how it works. There's a circle you draw around, and there's proportions and dimensions that really. And then after you do it, like I said, I just follow some rules, and then I sit on my screen. I'm like, wow, that was pretty good. All I do is follow a formula. This is a little fun door that goes to the backyard. So when people are parking and they want to go backyard to the pool, they don't have to go through the house. They don't have to go. It's just an old world kind of thing that you see in houses. Okay, I think that's next slide. All finished. Again, like sort of just a ton of this picture is just taken last week, so you see there's more. There's flowers to fill and trees to come out and all that stuff, but I wanted to get something on this presentation that we could look at as the final result. It's pretty close. Then again, there's the stair again. That's the lounge. This is like proportion stuff. This is the middle window. So you can see there's more muttons on there. These windows are a little bit narrower in the stair hall. So, hey, let's make these a little bit more narrow. So there's a balance. You can't really see through here, but you can, in the better picture, this, I want this back next time. You can't see through there, but in the picture, you can actually see the house in the backyard, the yard of house, through those doors, because it has that kind of look. This is a cedar shingle roof, not a shaker. It's already starting to get that cool look right here where the water doesn't run down there as much as it runs down here. What else? I think that's again.
How tall is the house?
What is that? 27 foot 8. And that's like, it's, you know, as tall as my house. Like it's just a center hall line. It's not, but it's just because everything's tucked under the roofs, right? It's just right here. This forms a really, these two things on all the corners, there are these really cool angles in the room. Looks like you're in New England. But those are all new. We can draw that and make that happen. Some people might say, well, you know, gee, I want that space back for my kid, you know? And it's like, yeah, but that just wouldn't, you probably wouldn't do that with me. But that takes away from this look. This thing needs to float by itself, and then all this shingles come straight down to that. So what else? Stair hall. I think we're on to the next.
How much money you estimate that you save by using the existing foundation?
Oh, we thought $100,000, but not doing the. This is a shot inside the kitchen. Wait, let's kind of switch a little bit there. This is south facing. There's a portico here with a covering, so I knew that wouldn't get quite as much light from the south that I wanted to. So that was sort of the whole idea of kind of creating all this light up here. So this you know, kitchens are living rooms, right? It's where we all live. And this shot is taken from the great room that's right next to it. So they're still connected, but very kind of a very simple kitchen that anyone would be like, yeah, this is cool. I'll take this. This is a fun idea. This is another thing that I was I'm coming over here and I knew this would look great in the morning because it's Eastern exposure. So I'm coming over to look at it while it's being framed. And who's there? The owner, Craig's there, looking at the same thing, right? So we're it's fun to see this kind of light come in here like that in the morning, especially right, obviously in the morning. South light is great. This light will actually come into there. But again, this is a 27-foot tall house. It does not look like a McMansion. Again, composition kind of stuff. I forgot to say that about that. And going back to the other thing, the problem I always see is like we have to design both from the inside and the outside at the same time. You can't design the whole plan on the inside and then think, gee, what is it going to look like from the outside? Because that's where we get Mr. Potato Head houses. Right? They're all, the windows are all over. You're like, what happened? You know, the only place you can tell, so it's sometimes like the windows on the front, it's like, guess what? You have to work with these. You know, compose it on the outside, make it look beautiful, and then think about how this is going to work. And it really works out well. We've talked to other people about sometimes in a bedroom, you know what? The bed's going to be up against the window. That's okay. I see that in Architectural Digest. But those are the kind of things. Everything doesn't have to be laid out for the plan. The outside's just as important as the inside, at least. And then I'm actually going to go last slide. So this house has a widow's walk. It was in the lounge on the second floor. It's actually got it's pretty tough because you think you got to, if that's the roof up here, you have to climb up there and then actually get up there where it's safe enough to climb onto the roof into this little kind of bowl. So it's a series of, there's a spiral stair that starts out, and then you transition, you stand on a platform, and then there's a little ladder that you climb up there. And then there's a hatch that opens and you get out on this roof, and that's where the chimney is. We talked about widow's walks, and the history of widow's walks was in New England, where the ship captain would be gone for a year, and his wife would keep going up to the roof looking for him out in the sea. And I said, well, that's not going to happen here, right? We're not going to do that. So to clients in the audience, I'm sorry if you didn't get a housewarming gift like this, but next slide. So this is something I made up that's going to be, I don't know if it's there yet, but it's next to the widow's walk. It says, to all ye souls who climb this tower, hold tight the rails, try not to cower. Don't waste your days in search of ships. This perch was built for block and chips. And that's so that was kind of my we kept talking about the perch and what you're going to do up there, and so That was it. And one more slide, I think, at the end. Again, it's kind of summing up what we talked about today. Like a teacher up here. Yeah, the most important part, I see this, I keep this interested and knowledgeable homeowner, not just architects, not just designers, not just builders. People make a difference in their own houses, and they make a difference talking to neighbors, all that kind of stuff. So the more we can talk about things, about architecture, that's the whole point of this series. The doing it at any kind, almost any kind of addition to anything other than a McMansion, it's going to appear organic and it's life built because it's not, it's the floor plates are small. So we're starting with that. And then again, that less harm to the environment and wallet. Not always the case, but it's pretty typical. And I joke that your neighbors are going to like you better. I see it all the time. Someone builds a gigantic house and immediately the neighbor is pissed, right? Shading gardens, just the way of life for those people that lived there for 40 years is not completely gone. And I'm not saying that I've been involved with houses that have done that, but I'm learning to, sometimes you can avoid that, and not just for the person living there, but for the next person. The sources of inspiration we're going to try to have every time. Of course, the book is really important. That's kind of the basis of these talks. And then this other event here is a good friend of mine, Stuart Cohen, and his wife Julie Hacker. They're architects in Evanston. Stuart is 83, and he's like smarter than all of us in this room. Really, this is a great timely lecture because it's about adding on, right? They write books. This is like his 5th or 6th book. Just so smart. I think architects have a hang up with, we're always looking for old architects because it's a great job and we want to do it forever. So we're always looking for like, wow, he's 83, like somebody's 100. This talk is downtown. It's on Michigan Avenue, but I don't know how many people frequent Chicago too much, but it's easy, great places to park. Just look up, Buddy Park, what is it called? Spot Hero, right?
Spot Hero.
Easy to find. This is a cocktail reception, a lecture, and a book signing in this is in the Chicago Athletic Association.
Women's
Right? Is that what it's called?
Women's Athletic Club.
Women's Athletic Association. These are the kind of talks that I go to. It's not just architects and designers. This is open to people who are just interested. We want a lot of people that are interested. It's always the coolest spaces. They have the ICA has a lot of events at the Treehouse Museum. This one happens to be in a place I haven't been before, but it's always very classy. You feel like you're kind of like in the in crowd in design in Chicago and the suburbs. And if you tell them you come from Naperville, they're really impressed. Even though Stuart and Julie live in Evanston, which isn't that much closer than Naperville, but I let them slide on that. Anyway, so that's a fantastic opportunity if you're interested in night out in the city, go to dinner before, cocktails. He is so entertaining. I'm sure the book is fantastic. And the people that go to these things, it's like really fun. So that is the talk.